People often ask, why in the world would you be an income investor? It underperforms growth investing. You know, just if you look at the math, growth investing just always outperforms it. You make more money. Why would you bother with income investing? Well, I'm going to give you my top reasons for why I like income investing. So here's some of the advantages for income investing. Income investing hedges in a bear market. Now, it's often said, you know, anyone can make money in a bull market, you know, and that's true. Like, pretty much anybody can make money in a bull market. It's very easy. They say even chimps can do it, right? Not too difficult. The thing with that is, you know, when the market is sideways or down, it's in a bear market. If you're a growth investor, you're just kind of waiting it out, you know, and maybe buying some of your favorite stocks or indexes, you know, while the market's down. That's about it. But, you know, you could be waiting 6 months, a year, 2 years or more. But with income investing, you know, you're getting the premium or maybe a dividend, right? You're still getting paid while the market's down. And so if that's the problem, you know, if that's the issue, is it's not when it's the bull market, because anyone can make money in a bull market. If the problem and the issue is bear markets, right, they can be difficult, even psychologically difficult on some people, right? Some people panic and like, oh my God, it's been 2 years and I haven't made any money and no profits. Well, that's not the case with income investing. You know, you have that hedge. You have that money coming in even when the market's down. Let's say you own some NASDAQ stock, right? And you trade options on 100 shares of it. Well, if the NASDAQ is sideways or down, you still make that money on the covered call. So you're going to outperform when it's a bear market, and that's when it's tough on people, right? This is especially true if you're retired or not working. So it's a really big advantage, in my opinion. Now, kind of going along with that too is when it's a bear market, right? Everything's down, everything's selling at a discount. Well, you're making that extra income, and that extra money can buy stocks while the market is down at a discount, right? That's huge. With growth investing, you know, yeah, if you have an income, sure, you could buy when it's down, but you know, you probably have more income if you're, you know, trading options, or you have dividends or some sort of distribution that's given to you, you know, while everything's down, and you could actually accumulate more shares. So even, you know, mathematically, yeah, growth kind of outperforms it or outdoes a lot of those assets that are income assets, but you can accumulate more shares. So in the long run, you know, you have to look at it that way. Like, there's some definite big advantages to having an income portfolio, or at least partially. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a mix, right? And I'm kind of a believer in that. Like, maybe it's best to just have a mix of, you know, you could do 50-50, half income and half growth, or 60-40, however you want to play it. But, you know, I have nothing against it, but that's a big advantage. Also, there could be tax advantages when you have a bunch of growth stocks and you sell it, you know, depending on when you bought it, you're going to pay capital gains tax on it. It could be long term, it could be short term, you know, but let's even assume long term. You know, you have long term capital gains when you go to sell it. Well, there's actually some tax advantages when you are an income investor. There are cases where you know, you can have a classification of return of capital, and you actually have tax advantages on it. All right, now it's not the case with every single type of dividend or income investment, but it is the case with some. All right, so yeah, you could have tax advantages in some cases. So really what it comes down to is, you know, there's an emotional and mental advantage to being an income investor. And you know, at the end of the day, you know, life isn't about math, right? Yeah, I'm not saying the math doesn't matter. Yeah, it matters. But you know, that's kind of the human side of investing, is the emotional and mental aspect of it. And all these things, like performing better when the market's down, performing better when the market is sideways, it is a really big mental and emotional advantage. And I think people kind of forget about that, and they just say, well, you know, income investing underperforms growth investing, so I'm just going to be a growth investor. And it's like, well, yeah, but you're forgetting about that, right? And you know, ultimately what it comes down to is you need to enjoy it. You should enjoy your life and your investments. And I find a lot of people that are income investors, they really love being an income investor. And it gives them so many advantages to their life, both psychological, mental, and monetarily. When the market goes down, they actually look forward to it, because now it's like, hey, everything's on sale. I have cash coming in, and I could buy more shares. And when the market goes up, I could look forward to that. You know, like maybe the market, you know, it doesn't go up until next year. Well, they look forward to next year because they're going to have more shares and more income coming in. I hope that makes sense to you. I think those are, you know, those are my biggest picks for, you know, advantages to being an income investor.